Hey, what's up, everyone? It's me, Matt from Diazable, coming at you with another album review. And today we're checking out the band Cruelty with their album Untopia. Now, if you've never heard of this band, which I feel like a good amount of people might not have, they are a Tokyo death metal with a little bit of hardcore, but mostly death metal band. They've been around since like 2017, I think. They've done some intensive touring in Japan and recently did some tours in America, which apparently went really well. Apparently, they did pretty good. And so I checked this album out because I heard a lot about them, and I was gonna go watch them at Blood X Fest in Tokyo back in September of 2023. So I wanted to check them out, review all the bands. So this is my thoughts on this album from Cruelty. Yeah. Unknown Nightmare starts this album off very slow, very creepy, especially with some hittings of some like gongs in the background, and it creates like an air of mystery before the song starts. As I was listening to it, it made me feel like you're like at a deserted shrine in Japan. There's like a level of dark and creepiness to it. And then right when things get really weird, they just drop it in with some dark, heavy metals with some snappy snares and deep bass. The bass is used very well on this song. But the guitar work is a little wonky, but it adds to the flair of that weird atmosphere they're building. Good mix of death metal and hardcore. It's infused really well on this song. They have some good hard and snappy two steps with like dirty bass to accompany it. The bass tone is really, really good here on the song. The vocals, the lows and the highs, they blend very well on this track. They like surprisingly work well. And overall, the song is pretty groovy, pretty damn groovy. Like I said, the bass is really helping this song flow and everything. And also it's just nasty heavy, just heavy, 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 especially when they slow it down to build up the breakdown. And then like the breakdown comes in, which is kind of like a pretty basic breakdown, but it just slaps so hard with the use of the bass. So great opening song.
Even when you're gone, I'll tell them my religions you went on.
Harder than before. The snare sounds really good. It's really tight on this song. It really pops when you're listening to this track. The riffs, very fast, really tight, sound much better than the previous song. The bass is thick, it's heavy, it's still doing a great job and everything. The vocals sound very soul crushing and just have so much like cool like echo effects to it that it really like breathes life into this song. Overall, it's a very well balanced and large sound, and they have a lot of smooth transitions with the groove and heaviness, which especially around the like the 2 minute 10 mark, like they do this sick transition into this deep, heavy two step that just blew my mind, which I want to play a little clip for you. Oh, it's so thick. It's so monstrous. I love it. Burn the System has really good cymbals on this track. And also I noticed they really know how to mix the whole death metal hardcore together without overusing one too much. Because right when they're about to overuse maybe death metal styles, they switch it over to hardcore and play it very well. So everything's pretty refreshing. Again, drumming very tight. Percussions and bass are really in sync and just stay in the pocket throughout this song. Uh, then they kind of slow things down with a nice, like, pretty epic break and whatnot. And they have some like washed out guitars and like they sound really, really echoey and far away. So it adds some nice texture and flavor to the song. And again, there's two steps. They're just clean as fuck. They know how to make good, clean two steps. Reincarnation starts off with like a simple metal style opening, very fast playing, slick riffs, and just heavy and sludgy. Again, playing with tighter production, but I will say it's pretty standard like metal hardcore song. just because it's a lot of riffs, and so like it's like all right. Days of Suffering starts off with like a creepy sound clip, but then it moves into some nice heavy grooviness. I will say the guitar work on the second part of this album is very impressive, very tight. The drums sounded very punchy and very large. Like it's got a good sound to it, and especially that snare drum. It's cutting through everything, and you can just really hear it in the song overall, and in a lot of the other songs. Song has a really good flow to it and everything, going from heavy to chill, so they blend things pretty well. And then there's some freaking blast beats in here that are just super tight. So here's a little clip of Maze of Suffering. You hear that snare? It's just so, it's cutting through, baby. Manufactured Insanity. It's heavy and slightly repetitive with the drums a bit by now. Kind of sounds like the previous songs in a way. Like the first couple songs were pretty impressive, but now they kind of have like a similar format to them, so it's getting a little bit dull. The band is really incredible, I'll give them that. But I think they suffer from overinflating their songs. Like they're a little long and they could be trimmed down a bit to be a bit like tighter. They're already tight playing, but there just seems to be a little bit of extraness they don't need here. Because overall, everything sounds great, everything sounds heavy, but it does sound the same. Especially with some of the breakdowns, they sound heavy, but they kind of have the same feel to them. Especially with this song, man. Untopia starts off with a very large and grand guitar work and everything. It really slowly builds up, and with the drums as well too. And then when it fucking kicks in, it kicks in, especially with the drums and everything. Very punchy, and that kick drum, it does your dome in really good. How like good you can hear it and everything. Then there's like, as the song progresses, there's like a sudden drop into a breakdown that's pretty nice and everything. Like you don't really see it coming. The breakdown is much better than like previous breakdowns, as I was talking about in the last track. Very fast riffs, solid kicks from the drums, and I would say like the way they're playing towards the end of the song is like a dream of like perfection, because it just sounds so tight and good. Overall, it's a very solid and epic song, and I think it helps like play out the album really well. So here's a little clip of Untopia. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on this album from KRUELTY, Untopia. The biggest thing I can say that is a great positive about this band and this album is death metal, hardcore. They know how to fuse it really well, because death metal fans, hardcore fans are gonna be so happy because they played both those styles really well and transition into those styles very well. And then on the instrument side, the bass, like I want to say it's king, but I know it's a girl who plays the bass. So the bass is queen here. She is just playing so well, very interesting. It can be heard really well. It's layered in very well, and it's very prominent. The bass just makes this album so good. And then after the bass, you got the drums. With the percussions are so tight and snappy with the snare drum and the kick drums and everything. Drums and percussions are just a match made in heaven here on this album. And then you have the guitar work. The guitar work is pretty fast, pretty groovy riffs and everything, but at times they can be a bit repetitive and feel a little redundant, but it's not enough to where I think it can take the album. It can be trimmed down a bit, I think, and be a little bit more interesting maybe. But yeah, and then the vocals, good variety from highs and lows. So great performance from the vocalist and everything on this album. And let's say the only production for being a death metal band, I'm so surprised. You can clearly hear all the members singing very nice and everything, very crisp, very layered well and everything with the bass, drums, guitars, and vocals, top notch. I will say the only thing is a drawback for me is the length. Like the first half of the album is really tight. Second half is a little bit repetitive and kind of like just a little lackluster and has some unnecessariness to it, where I think they could have trimmed some songs, shortened them a little bit, done a little bit different arrangements just to make them a little bit tighter, because they felt a little bit repetitive and just kind of there. So, but it's still pretty enjoyable to listen to because it's a solid album. So don't let that deter you. Still check them out and everything. Whether it's a good or bad band, check bands out anyway. This album from KRUELTY, Untopia, is a good 8 out of 10. Yeah, so if you're interested in some Japanese metal, hardcore, KRUELTY is where it's at. Links down below. I see why they're really hyped up and why a lot of people talk about them, because I've seen them live. I've heard their music. They match very well, and the energy is there, both live and on record. And they're really nice people. I got to talk to Zuma and some of the other members for a little bit at Blood Axe. They're good people. So check out this album from KRUELTY. And I am Matt, and I will see you later. Bye.